International Women's Day, March 8th, is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Great unrest and critical debate was occurring amongst women. Women's oppression and inequality was spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. Then in 1908, 15,000 women marched through New York City demanding shorter hours, better pay and voting rights. In accordance with a declaration by the Socialist Party of America, the first National Women's Day, NWD, was observed across the United States on 28th of February. Women continued to celebrate NWD on the last Sunday of February until 1913. In 1910 a second International Conference of Working Women was held in Copenhagen. A woman named Clara Zetkin, leader of the Women's Office for the Social Democratic Party in Germany, tabled the idea of an International Women's Day. She proposed that every year in every country there should be a celebration on the same day, a Women's Day, to press for their demands. The conference of over 100 women from 17 countries, representing unions, socialist parties, working women's clubs, and including the first 3 women elected to the Finnish parliament, greeted Zetkin's suggestion with unanimous approval, and thus International Women's Day was the result. Following the decision agreed at Copenhagen in 1911, International Women's Day was honored the first time in Austria, Denmark, Germany and Switzerland on 19th of March. More than 1 million women and men attended IWD rallies campaigning for women's rights to work, vote, be trained, to hold public office and end discrimination. However, less than a week later on 25th of March, the tragic Triangle Fire in New York City took the lives of more than 140 working women, most of them Italian and Jewish immigrants. This disastrous event drew significant attention to working conditions and labor legislation in the United States that became a focus of subsequent International Women's Day events. 1911 also saw Women's Bread and Roses campaign. On the eve of World War I campaigning for peace, Russian women observed their first International Women's Day on the last Sunday in February 1913. In 1913, following discussions, International Women's Day was transferred to 8th of March, and this day has remained the global date for International Women's Day ever since. In 1914, further women across Europe held rallies to campaign against the war and to express women's solidarity. For example, in London and the United Kingdom there was a march from Bow to Trafalgar Square in support of women's suffrage on March 8, 1914. Sylvia Pankhurst was arrested in front of Charing Cross Station on her way to speak in Trafalgar Square. On the eve of World War I campaigning for peace, Russian women observed their first International Women's Day on the last Sunday in February 1913. In 1913, following discussions, International Women's Day was transferred to 8th of March, and this day has remained the global date for International Women's Day ever since. In 1914, further women across Europe held rallies to campaign against the war and to express women's solidarity. For example, in London and the United Kingdom there was a march from Bow to Trafalgar Square in support of women's suffrage on March 8, 1914. Sylvia Pankhurst was arrested in front of Charing Cross Station on her way to speak in Trafalgar Square. International Women's Day was celebrated for the first time by the United Nations in 1975. Then in December 1977, the General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming a United Nations Day for Women's Rights and International Peace to be observed on any day of the year by member states, in accordance with their historical and national traditions. The UN commenced the adoption of an annual theme in 1996, which was celebrating the past, planning for the future. This theme was followed in 1997 with Women at the Peace Table, and in 1998 with Women and Human Rights, and in 1999 with World Free of Violence Against Women, and so on each year until the current. More recent themes have included, for example, Empower Rural Women, End Poverty and Hunger, and A Promise is a Promise, Time for Action to End Violence Against Women. By the new millennium, International Women's Day activity around the world had stalled in many countries. The world had moved on and feminism wasn't a popular topic. International Women's Day needed re-ignition. There was urgent work to do. Battles had not been won and gender parity had still not been achieved. The Global International Women's Day digital hub for everything IWD was launched to re-energize the day as an important platform to celebrate the successful achievements of women and to continue calls for accelerating gender parity. Each year the IWD website sees vast traffic and is used by millions of people and organizations all over the world to learn about and share IWD activity. The IWD website is made possible each year through support from corporations committed to driving gender parity. 2011 saw the 100-year centenary of International Women's Day, with the first IWD event held exactly 100 years ago in 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. In the United States, President Barack Obama proclaimed March 2011 to be Women's History Month, calling Americans to mark IWD by reflecting on the extraordinary accomplishments of women in shaping the country's history. The then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton launched the 100 Women Initiative, empowering women and girls through international exchanges. In the United Kingdom, celebrity activist Annie Lennox led a superb march across one of London's iconic bridges, raising awareness and support for global charity Women for Women International. Further charities such as Oxfam have run extensive activity supporting IWD, and many celebrities and business leaders also actively support the day. The world has witnessed a significant change and attitudinal shift in both women's and society's thoughts about women's equality and emancipation. Many from a younger generation may feel that all the battles have been won for women, while many feminists from the 1970s know only too well the longevity and ingrained complexity of patriarchy. With more women in the boardroom, greater equality in legislative rights, and an increased critical mass of women's visibility as impressive role models in every aspect of life, one could think that women have gained true equality. The unfortunate fact is that women are still not paid equally to that of their male counterparts. Women still are not present in equal numbers in business or politics, and globally women's education, health, and the violence against them is worse than that of men. However, great improvements have been made. We do have female astronauts and prime ministers, schoolgirls are welcomed into university, women can work and have a family, women have real choices. And so each year the world inspires women and celebrates their achievements. IWD is an official holiday in many countries including Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Burkina Faso, Cambodia, China, for women only, Cuba, Georgia, Guinea-Bissau, Eritrea, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Madagascar, for women only, Moldova, Mongolia, Montenegro, Nepal, for women only, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uganda, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, and Zambia. The tradition sees men honoring their mothers, wives, girlfriends, colleagues, etc. with flowers and small gifts. In some countries IWD has the equivalent status of Mother's Day, where children give small presents to their mothers and grandmothers. A global web of rich and diverse local activity connects women from all around the world, ranging from political rallies, business conferences, government activities and networking events through to local women's craft markets, theatric performances, fashion parades and more. Many global corporations actively support IWD by running their own events and campaigns. For example, on 8th of March, search engine and media giant Google often changes its Google Doodle on its global search pages to honor IWD. Year on year, IWD is certainly increasing in status. So make a difference. Think globally and act locally. Make every day International Women's Day. Do your bit to ensure that the future for girls is bright, equal, safe and rewarding.
Women and girls are leaders, change makers, caretakers, and peacekeepers. But while they have an empowered role in our societies, to this day, women and girls are still forced to fight for their rights. How much progress have we achieved, and how much work remains? How can you carry on the fight for equal rights? Women's struggle for equal rights is centuries old. But 1848 marked a watershed moment for women's rights with the Seneca Falls Convention, where women activists publicly petitioned for their civil, social, political, and religious rights. In 1893, New Zealand sent a message to other activists across the world that equal voting rights were achievable through advocacy. Entering the 20th century, women around the world are mobilizing in ever greater numbers to campaign for gender equality. Just as women's role in the labor force is rapidly evolving by opening up options beyond caretaking roles. In 1945, the United Nations is formed in response to the destructive toll of 2 world wars, and Eleanor Roosevelt oversees the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. For all the world to hear, she and other advocates underline the place of women's rights within. This sets a foundation for women's rights norms and standards at the international level. In the subsequent decades, just as women are taking historic leadership positions in government, women activists at the grassroots level dovetail with the worldwide momentum by becoming powerful symbols of feminist resistance and social change. This momentum reaches a climax in 1995 when the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action presents a visionary global agenda for women and girls' rights. But in spite of all the progress, as we enter the 21st century, patriarchal stigmas persist and exemplary leaders arise to resist them. With the rise of the digital age, social media emerges as a crucial tool to galvanize populations in the fight against injustice. A single woman's voice is now louder than ever. Grassroots activists trigger social movements online and offline, from cities to villages, inspiring future generations of women and girl leaders. After relentless campaigning, these movements generate changes in policy that signal a true shift in international attitudes and practice towards equal rights. Where are we now? A quarter century after the Beijing Declaration, women and men must mobilize together to overcome the remaining obstacles to gender equality. They must fight for an end to gender-based violence, for access to healthcare, for equal pay, and for equal participation in political life. The ink isn't dry. Be a part of Generation Equality, and let us continue to write history together.
Gender equality affects us all. International Women's Day is a great day to stand up, speak up and be heard. And that's exactly what we've asked our colleagues to do around the world. Collectively, each one of us can help create a gender-equal world.
I will help forge a gender-equal world.
I will help empower the ambition of all women.
Join the generation for equality. Yes, we should be equal in status, rights and opportunities.
I will challenge gender stereotypes and bias.
Eu criarei visibilidade positiva para as mulheres.
I'll try to influence others' beliefs and actions.
We will respect her opinion and decision.
I will try and influence others' beliefs and actions.
I will celebrate women's achievements.
Ayudaré a forjar un mundo con igualdad de género.
I will maintain a gender equal mindset, each for equal.
We will challenge gender stereotypes and bias.
I will celebrate women's achievements.
I will challenge gender stereotype and bias, each for equal.
Each for equal, watinda abafazi watindi noa.
El mundo es tuyo, mujer. Conquístalo y celebremos juntos.
I will build positive visibility for women.
I will maintain a gender-equal mindset.
I will help forge a gender-equal world.
Voy a denunciar cualquier tipo de violencia de género.
I will call out gendered actions or assumptions.
What have you done? Instead of talking about inequality, instead of blaming everyone, have you done anything to cut down on it honestly? When one person can make a difference, will you stand up for what's right for the system? Or when faced with a stranger in that situation, mind your business. Tell me, would you ever take a stand? Mind your words. Avoid saying action because you know women's worth. Tell me, do you understand your power? The power of tongue and action. Understand there's a circular chain for every action, there is a reaction. Tell me if you know that. 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 Tell me if you know.
What's going on with equality today? People everywhere fighting bias and hate. So whether you're from the UK or America, whether you're from the Middle East or Africa, it's time to stand up and say,
many coming as one. Unity, though individuals. We know change is a must. Balance for the better. From morning to dusk. A human fight, we gotta stop seeing it as a female one. If you don't stand up, then who will? If not now, then when? Might be hard to swallow this pill. The rise of women that equates to the fall of men. Tell me if you know that. 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 Tell me if you know.
do you know your effect when your words go unchecked? Cause what you say matters. Why you laugh matters. Who you blame matters. When we know that, we will be